All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Carry Podcast, episode 79 today. Excited to have another conversation with you. Excited to have another beautiful day here in Colorado. And we are stuck on Micah's cam, but that's okay because we're going to pan straight over to me. And Oodalali Coffee, thank you for sponsoring every episode as you always do. Never disappoints. We're thankful to be well taken care of over here. And we are excited to get underway with this episode today.
Let's rock and roll.
Man, I didn't even mean to rhyme, and I did. That was amazing.
It's tricky to rock a rhyme, That's old school.
Tricky.
Jared knows.
I know. Just
Jared knows
bit
some
of
old school
every
stuff.
once in a while.
I like it. All right, here we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we scroll so that you don't have to. We've got the daily scroll queued up. I've got mostly some funner things.
More funner.
Some more funner things on here
more
for
funner.
today. Got a couple of serious things, but I figured we'd start out with this. This is a very real danger that comes with having to use jiu-jitsu, having to use wrestling, having to use techniques outside on the ground. This comment, I do think, was embellishing quite a bit. It does say, just like that, 2 lives ruined, 1 paralyzed, 1 going to prison. And here we have this video of a tussle on a sidewalk. Boom.
Oh, that's brutal.
With a scorpion double leg takedown. It looks like he knocked himself out. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that?
He did.
Kind of like knocked himself out on the concrete there. I'm rewinding it. Man. So toward the end of the video, the guy in the gray shirt ends up getting up, but then the guy in the green shirt, he does end up moving his arms by the end of the video. So you see, you can see him moving his arms right there.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was quite paralyzed, thankfully. Injured, no doubt. But whenever we're in a real situation defending ourselves on the street, those are some serious concerns that you have to be aware of. Is you're not on a mat, you're not on a sprung floor. You've got real consequences that you're facing.
Yeah.
How much is your life actually being threatened? Is it worth the potential of actually taking another life? Or are you just in some tough guy scrap where you're just wanting to tussle on the street? Because you take somebody to the concrete or the asphalt, things get fast. Things get dangerous real fast. And this is a good example of exactly that. And when we teach self-defense techniques, especially whenever it comes to takedowns, we make sure all the students here, they know the ground you're falling on is not going to be a mat. You got to make sure that it's okay to use the ground against your opponent, but you got to make sure that you're not accidentally grounding yourself. There's a lot of techniques where you could land on your knee, shatter your knee, all kinds of different things that you need to make sure you're trained and understand, because if you don't, you're going to hurt yourself, and very likely if you don't, you'll find yourself in these situations where you can very, very easily alter the course of somebody's life by throwing them onto a concrete or an asphalt floor.
If you watch that again, he didn't just hit his head. The first thing I actually saw was his ankles.
Really?
Did you pick up on that?
No.
Watch. So both of his feet, when they came down, there's a video of like a 14 to 15-year-old, 2 kids clearly at school outside in like a atrium area, and this one kid is bullying this other kid, and he essentially does the same thing. He grabs, goes into a scorpion, and when he throws him over, and it's not a jiu-jitsu thing, he just did I think he just rolled him by accident. It shattered the kid's ankle. When he went to stand up, you see the ankle fold over. So the bully got his ankle busted because the kid had enough, and he just rolled him.
Interesting.
But,
yeah. No, my focus was definitely on the head here.
Yeah.
This guy was
he folded
pretty bad, scorpioned, and then the other guy face plants in the concrete while he's throwing the other guy.
Yeah.
It just shows you all the way around. I mean, who knows? These guys might be drunk. They might be on something. Who knows? But regardless, I mean, this has real consequences whenever you're throwing somebody onto concrete or pavement. It's important to consider that. It's important to know what kind of situation you're in. Is it a situation you can de-escalate? Is it a situation you can avoid? Is it a situation that you can walk away from?
Yeah.
Because is it worth a kid not being able to walk the rest of his life?
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I don't think that this kid was actually paralyzed because you can see his arms moving.
Well,
but you can watch
Was it from the legs down?
No, he was just moving his arms.
No, but I'm saying, could he have been paralyzed waist down?
Whenever I read through the comments, there was a bunch of people saying that the reports say that there's not an official confirmation that he's paralyzed at all.
Good.
But, I mean, there's literally accidents that have happened like this on jiu-jitsu mats that have left people paralyzed.
Yeah.
So not even just on concrete. Now, you're talking about some gyms that are definitely
Different.
being pretty neglectful
Yeah.
in the ways that they're taking care of their students. And I mean, you people online have probably seen like one of the biggest lawsuits that ended up in a negligent settlement claim, multiple millions for a person that went paralyzed, from a professor that tried to do a certain back take on this student and ended up paralyzing this student.
So not worth it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, this is to paint a picture. Okay, training is good. Training is good. Everything that we're saying, bringing it full circle into the jiu-jitsu world, I'm saying that to show that there's real consequences on the mats and off the mats. But regardless or not, those consequences, you'll only truly understand them if you actually prepare for them, if you actually know the things to do safely, the ways to keep yourself safe and to keep others safe. Because, I mean, there's other techniques that you can do depending on the situation and depending on how much you feel threatened. There's different techniques that you can do that'll actually take care of whoever you're having to defend yourself against.
For sure.
I mean, how many videos have you seen of people that actually will like do their takedowns and they'll cushion the head of who they're taking down
Absolutely.
and things like that? Because, I mean, there's different levels of threats. There's different levels of having to deal with conflict and protect yourself. And the more that you train, the more you're going to be competent to be able to handle whatever life ends up throwing at you in the given moment.
So in the NHL and fighting, there's an unwritten rule that once the guy's knees buckle, or if he goes down on a knee, no more punches thrown. And when you have two enforcers throwing down, they're just haymakers, man. They're just dropping bombs. But the second that first guy goes down, you can pull up video after video. If somebody gets KO'd, the first thing that happens is the guy that KOs him immediately looks over to the bench and calls for medical. Like, it's just it's like hundreds of videos out there like this. So there's a very much respect issue of, we'll fight and I'm protecting my whatever, but you also protect the other guy. And if you hit the guy on the way down in the NHL, you will be marked for a long, long time as a guy who's a cheap fighter, because there's a respect for enforcers. But if the guy's going to the ground, you're expected to protect him. And it all happens within a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So beat the crap out of him, but hold him as he's going down. Yeah.
You know what hockey fighting reminds me of? I don't know how many of you guys have seen Yellowstone or not, but it reminds me of that scene where Rip is having to have Beth fight with that other chick or whatever. And he's like, none of that jujitsu stuff. Stand up and swap them.
Yeah.
Just stand up and grab hold. And they're just rock them, sock them back and forth, one for one. It's like, that's hockey fighting to me right there. They just grab a hold, one for one, just smacking each other in the face.
You just trade them as hard as you can.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll continue with the scroll here. We've got, this was something that I thought was very, very interesting to talk about. We've talked about situations like this on the podcast several times, and I think that this one is a very recent one and is definitely worth watching. So this footage we're about to pull up shows the moment 20-year-old Cadence Carpenter drove her Tesla into a crowd that had surrounded her vehicle in the early hours of Sunday morning in Lexington, Kentucky. Watch this video, and I'm going to skip it because it's a little bit of a longer video, but I am going to skip through. But you can see the conflict. You can see the escalation. She just got into her car there, and then people start swarming around her car. They're knocking on her windows. They're clearly being very threatening here, and you're talking about a 20-year-old girl alone in her car, and eventually this threat was enough for her to have that flight or flight moment where she decides, all right, my life's at risk.
Yeah.
I got to drive my car, and I got to hope that I can get out of here.
So
I saved another angle.
She drive into the crowd, or what happened?
Yeah,
you know?
watch. I saved another angle from above head. This is the same exact thing. And here she goes. Boom, drives. You see, she's trying to be nice about it.
Yeah.
In the beginning, she's just like, really trying to avoid having to do it. But it looks like she didn't actually full stop run over somebody. But, she was nudging people out of her way.
Right.
And then you see that there's police officers right there coming to her vehicle. So the question really is, because I don't know the context of everything. I don't know if there is alcohol involved or not with this, and I don't know if I don't know what the greater context could be. But if police officers were right across the street and saw people swarming a vehicle, why wouldn't they have gone across the street and tried to break up the scene? Why would they let it get to that point where something needed to be done?
Great question.
You know,
Mob mentality is, dude, I think we pulled up a video. We got to go back 40 episodes or so, but it was in Denver or Aurora where all the kids were climbing on top of the cop cars.
Yeah.
And like twerking and dancing and, I mean, and what do? You got 3 cop cars in the middle of 500 people. You're going to get out, or you can drive over the top of them, or you're just going to sit there and let them destroy your car. I mean, it's like you only have so many options. So I don't know. Mob mentality is a scary mentality, and it's like it just enrages everybody around you. It only takes one person to start it. Then you're just off to the races. So, I don't know the context in this, but I go back to that New York thing with those bikers. Same thing. 50, 60 bikers surround the guy, start hitting his vehicle, scaring his family. He just drove over everybody. He didn't even think twice about it. Mm-hmm. He was 100% acquitted immediately, all because of that video.
Yeah. And I mean, this video, I believe, at least for this lady, will show she's got quite a defense here. I mean, there's literally people hitting her vehicle and surrounding it, threatening her. I would say that it's very feasible to think that she was in fear for her life.
Sure.
I think that that's what this video shows. But it's just always telling to see these types of situations because what are you prepared? Are you ready for something like this to happen? Because I mean, we're seeing it happen more and more.
Right.
Where there's the angry mob that starts bashing in windows, starts surrounding vehicles, and it's important for us to have a level of discernment of this could happen. You drive through downtown anywhere nowadays, and there is an actual real risk of something like that happening. So knowing at what point that line is crossed and knowing when it's time to hit that throttle and get out of Dodge, I think it's important to know.
I got to tell you something funny. It just hit me. So Saturday, Friday afternoon, I'm going down Founders, and there's 3 kids on e-bikes. So they're trying to cross Founders where the Target is, and they're crossing real slow, and so the light turns green. And Founders, 3 lanes this way, 3 lanes that way. They're in the middle of the roadway taunting drivers, like just going slow, like, oh, look at us, we're being funny. And there was a dude in a Dodge Ram that had one of those train air horns. And the kid was right in front of him. And when he hit the e-bike went one way and the kid went the other way. I mean, he literally jumped off the bike and landed on the concrete, and then they all 3 went running across the roadway. It was epic. I wish I had had that on film. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's one of those things where it's worth the horn. I think it was funny.
Gotta love the train horn
because they were taunting. They were like, look, being 14-year-olds going, look, we're stopping traffic, we're funny, and then that guy was like, boom.
That's funny.
It was funny. It was hilarious. It was fun. It was funny to be next to. It actually scared me, by the way. It was so loud when it went off, it scared me inside my truck. That's how loud it was. Yeah.
Yeah, those things are loud, man.
Yeah,
those things are no joke.
It was cool.
All right, Elon Musk shared this. This is a post Yuri Bezmenov subversion, whatever page that is. But it has 24 million interactions, at least from the share from Elon. And this is quite concerning. Just listen to this. White guy sells a seagull. 8 months in prison. Black guy kills a man. Misdemeanor, released. Black guy kills a pregnant mom and her unborn child. Found not guilty by reason of insanity. Baby doesn't count as a human. Asian woman kills family of 4. She gets probation. Red guards in black robes have destroyed the value of justice and life. The purpose of a system is what it does. Dude, I think that we're being targeted as white people. Do you feel like we're the victims of racism at this point?
Oh, that's maybe one of the biggest statements you've ever made.
I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point, I feel like. I mean,
it's a system of so I know what this is driving at. What bothers me is how careless we are with life from the standpoint of judging. So I get where the guy's going, but to me, this isn't even about race as much as it's about we're not holding people to account on heinous stuff. And the guy with the seagull, white, black, yellow, red, green, blue, I don't care. You're getting jailed. What did he say? He sold a seagull or killed a seagull?
Yeah, that's right here. Look, New Jersey man sentenced to 8 months. 8 months in prison after decapitating, attacking animal that stole food from daughter. Okay, so hold on. The thing said, oh, kill seagull. I thought it said sold seagull.
Oh, that's what I heard. I was like, wait a second.
Dude.
So how do you capture a seagull and sell it and get charged? So he kills a seagull.
That
because
was
it went
a
after his-
serious moment of dyslexia because I could have almost sworn that said sold, but it says kills. Okay.
But you know what? It still doesn't change the fact, I mean, by the way, if you've never been to a beach, so I lived in South Carolina for 6 years, and we go down to the beach, and seagulls are super annoying. They're like the chickens in Aruba, and there's a bird problem. They will come in on you fast. So if you got food outside, they swarm, and they're not afraid, so whatever. So I can see how the guy might react to it. That aside, there's a big difference between killing a bird and killing and taking human life. And I just have a real problem with the justice system. I've been saying it on this show since day one. I'll continue saying it. We need term limits, and we need punitive civil charges to be able to be brought against any judge that gives a hand slap on the wrist and that person goes back out and commits a crime of any kind of crime. I don't even care what it is. It doesn't matter what the crime
like
is.
this next article. This next article you're going to enjoy quite a bit, I think. If I saved it. Did I not save it?
Dude, I'm telling you.
Wow. Oh, yeah. No, it's right here. It's right here. Okay. All right, here we go. 2 men both pleaded guilty for raping a 15-year-old boy and making child porn. They received different sentences from 2 different judges. Eric Bergstrom was sentenced to 30 to 50 years by Judge Derek Vaughn. But then Judge Rich McGowan took over the case and sentenced the co-defendant, Bradley Perry, to only 3 years for the exact same crime. When Judge McGowan was questioned on this decision, he stated, "I am the law." The judge stated, "I am the law." You're talking about a difference in 3 versus 30 years. That is a margin that cannot be skewed. That's a margin that is absolutely massive. You're talking about 10 times.
No, 3 times.
No,
Or I mean 10
this,
times.
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
10 times the penalty. That's the difference here between just 2 judges. How is it that our system allows 2 judges to be that far off from sentencing an actual crime, the same crime?
Because he's the law. He's the law. I hate the story. 2 men, cowards, hurting a 15-year-old boy, doing whatever they're doing. They should be both buried under the jail next to the judge that gave 3 years. This is exactly my point for the 12,973rd time. I'll just keep saying it and over until people get tired of hearing it and they walk away and say, Mike, it's never going to change. Great, I'll keep saying it. You sit over in your corner. This stuff pisses me off. First of all, you're going to violate a child who can't protect himself. Let's just live there for a second. Then you're going to go partner up with somebody and violate a child that can't protect himself. Oh, that's awesome. So now we got double the cowardice. You have no idea, dude. You have no idea disgusting. The anger that goes through me having lived through this in my past for 2 years with 4 different men in the church, neighbors. You don't. People just don't understand. This is the kind of stuff where I want to go hunt the judge down. I do. I want to go on a road trip. I want to go on a road trip and I want to take the judge out to a Kansas wheat field for about 3 days and have a conversation.
Take him to the train station.
Not take him to the train, dude. That's too easy. No, it does. It makes me mad. It makes the sentencing piece is a joke. So I'll just start and end with that. That's crap. They both should have gotten life sentences, but the judge should be charged. And that's what I've been driving at. The judge, you would not see this happen if we had civil retort opportunities and punitive damages starting at $1 million per case, per judge, per decision. I'm telling you, you would have no crime in this country. It would be next to nil. America would be. I should be. I'm going to hold my tongue. We should. That's what we should do. I'm going to when we put Brockler in here on the 31st when he comes in, This
Yeah.
is going to be the number one question that I have, and I'm going to ask it until I get an answer.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Love it.
I want to see, and my guess is in knowing him, he's going to be fired up over it. Not at me. He's going to be fired up at this.
Good. I hope so, because this is unacceptable. And moving on here, because we're going to move away from judges, but we are going to continue to talk about children and issues that are facing children being abused. But this is going to take a little bit of a different approach, a little bit of a different subject that's a little bit more sensitive right now. And we're going to talk about this a little bit because there's a lot to unpack. There's a couple different sides. There's a couple different interpretations. There's a couple, as with anything, kind of polarizing for some of the people out there right now. But I think it's very important.
Okay, you said we're starting with some fun stuff.
We did.
Yeah,
People having to run through crowds with their cars, and people doing takedowns onto concrete.
Okay, now I understand the fun aspect. All right, now I'm with you. I'm sorry.
We will come up for air after this one with one that is still not necessarily fun, but more fun.
Right.
This one's pretty
Funner.
heavy though. This one's pretty heavy.
All right.
Okay. Here we have this post, and I just saw it, and I happened to see that Grok confirmed at least some of the legitimacies of this claim. The claim is that Israel built the only military prison in the world that's designed specifically for children. Children are subjected to beatings, torture, and rape on a regular basis. Conviction rates in court reach 99.7%. And this applies only to non-Jewish children. So somebody Grok checked this. Grok being the AI superpower able to capture as much information that should likely be true. If you've heard Elon's account of Grok, it's the maximally truth-seeking AI. Grok says the claims are substantially accurate per reports from several sources it cites here. And it says that Israel's own military court data shows this, that Israel is the only country systematically prosecuting 500 to 700 Palestinian children per year, ages 12 plus, in military courts and facilities. Jewish Israeli minors use civilian juvenile courts, different system. There is a 99.7% conviction rate. And there's extensive documented ill treatment, routine beatings, threats, solitary during arrest, interrogation, sexual abuse, assault threats reported widely. Israel disputes systematic torture framing, and they cite security needs and occasionally probes, but patterns hold across diverse sources. So if you look at the replies in the comments to Grok's check here, there was a couple that were trying to point out to, okay, but these are kids that are also hardcore, brainwashed, indoctrinated to be shooting and killing Jewish people from a young age. And they just got pictures of Palestinian and kids with rifles and all those kinds of things, which we will not put on the show for everyone to see, just for a way of making sure that we are not violating anything online on any of the platforms that we're on. But there were definitely, multiple sides as to anything, multiple sides as to this. But regardless or not, I mean, I think that it is absolutely disgusting to think that there's any kids out there that are getting a 99.7 conviction rate, getting thrown into a prison that is just going to lead them to a cycle of violence and destruction. A prison designed specifically for kids. And I get it, at that age, have they already gone down a path that has left them with some real serious trauma and issues to where they are seen as a threat to Jewish society and where they have to be put somewhere where they're not going to cause harm to themselves or other people? Yes. But it's one thing to actually want to put them somewhere where they're going to receive help and receive a course correction versus put them somewhere where they're just going to be poked and prodded and treated like trash. And that is what these claims seem to be substantiating here, is that this prison is absolutely 500 to 700 kids per year. That's what the claims were that were confirmed by Grok, 500 to 700 children per year. That's how many kids are prosecuted with a 99.7% prosecution rate here, conviction rate. That's a lot of kids every year going into a prison that clearly is abusing their prisoners. Clearly. It'd be one thing if these were adults. It'd be one thing if these were war criminals. That's the way that they're treating kids, as war criminals.
Does it give the age range?
Yeah, 12 plus. That's what it says here. That's what Grok said.
12
ages 12 plus. It didn't say the age on the actual post, but Grok said 12 plus. There's a lot of discussion going on right now with Jewish, who's actually leading and pulling the strings at the highest levels in our country and around the world.
Yep.
A lot of discussion about what this war is happening over. A lot of discussion. I mean, our last episode, we were talking about one of those prominent Jewish rabbis who was talking about how this is all tied to prophecy, and they're about to announce their Moshiach. They're about to announce their
Which was
Messiah.
happening today, right?
I thought it was supposed to happen last Thursday, but I followed up and I looked and I couldn't find anything on it. So I don't know.
Oh, that was right, last Thursday.
Maybe it was supposed to be this Thursday. I don't know. I really don't know. But there's a lot of interesting conversation going on right now where people are really opening their eyes and thinking a little bit more deeply, contemplating what's going on right now. What's going on with Israel? What has gone on with Israel? How long has this Jewish community really pulled strings and had influence as much as they have had in our country and around the world? And for there to be a prison like this, I get it. War is messy. It's nasty. It's a tragedy all the way around. I wish that we would just have peace. Wish that was possible. But regardless or not, I think that there should be a level of moral decency, and there should be an ability for everyone to agree. Kids are treated differently than war criminals. And I mean, think about it. Think about any time that there's been people in the military. We see accounts recreated in Hollywood, in movies, real life accurate accounts of whenever people in the military have had to make that decision and put down a kid who had a rocket launcher or grenade launcher or an AK or whatever that was about to start firing it in their direction or toward one of the allies' direction, whatever it was. I get it. Decisions have to be made in war that nobody wants to have to ever make. But this, in my opinion, takes things way too far. Whenever you're talking about 12 to 17-year-olds, they need a course correction. They need people to help them. And everything that this is describing about this prison is doing the opposite of that. It's putting them into something that's going to just put them on a trajectory to where they have nothing to live for. They have nothing but more trauma to have to continue to carry and work through their entire life, which is a tragedy to me. I don't think that this right here is a real solution. I think that this right here is contributing to the problems. It's contributing to conflict, because then think about the other side of this. Think about the people, think about the kids that they are imprisoning here. Think about that. Think about how that's going to continue to escalate the conflict, escalate the tension, escalate the hate whenever you have institutions like this. And I don't think that it's something to brush past, that Israel's the only one. From what this is saying, this is the only military prison in the world designed for children. That's heavy.
I'm not even sure where to go with that. I'll be honest with you. I genuinely do not understand the Jewish Palestinian. I don't understand it. I don't even understand the whole Gaza Strip thing. I've read and read and read and read. When I say I don't understand because there's like two opposing sides that both seem to be telling the truth. And when you get down and dirty into it, they both have committed atrocities according to sources and what I dig into and read. And I've listened to Ben Shapiro. I've listened to pro-Palestinian people. They both make deeply valid arguments as to why their thing is right and this one is wrong. I don't know what to do with it. I really don't. Now, is this disturbing? I guess it depends because, you know, I got a lot of buddies that work over in the box, and they'll tell you, man, there's 13-year-olds walking around with AK-47s that are trained from a very early age. And these guys are also, you know, I mean, obviously adults are strapping suicide vests around these kids. I mean, there's just a lot of things that are evil that we do to kids. And, you know, putting them into a position to even think that we would have to arrest them for war crimes or the things that they're doing means that you got a 12, 13, 15, 18-year-old, whatever it may be, going out just potentially just as violent as a full-grown man. I mean, how do you stop that threat? I mean, you can't use harsh language. You can't yell any louder. And if they're truly a viable threat, you got to have something to do. But to your point, are we throwing 14-year-olds in jail, or are we helping to rehabilitate 14-year-olds? There's a big difference between those two things. But it wouldn't be any different in our system here. You know, I mean, that's always the hope, is if somebody goes to jail, is that they learn, they rehabilitate, they come back out, they try to be a productive member of society. But when you're evil and awful, kind of like that previous story, you know, we're raping kids, you get 30 years, you get 3. Well, you both committed the same atrocity, you know, and this is, again, it goes back to these court things, and I'll say it again. Judges have too much power, and people just don't understand it. I think the other thing to put into context here, Jared, is maybe it's just me. I don't know. I don't think people here in America really understand what's happening around the globe. When people in America travel, nobody's going to the Gaza Strip and hanging out with Palestinians and Jewish people in the middle of their fight or their war. They're not doing that. Number one, because you can't. People aren't flying to Istanbul to go hang out in Istanbul and go into the backcountry of Turkey to go see what it's really like with the Taliban. People go to Bonaire and Aruba. People go to Italy, and they go to Florence, and they go eat in outdoor cafes, and they get served dinner 9 o'clock at night, and, you know, amazing climate. They're not going here. So perspective I think is very, very hard, in my opinion, for anybody that doesn't go into these places. We know this stuff happens. We hear about it, and we go, yeah, not mine. It's not my problem. And we do that in America with stuff. We're certainly going to do it around the world. So it's hard, I think, for people to ascertain or garner a genuine perspective of stuff. And I've dug into this, and I have a hard time with it. And I know, because I got people come to me, what do you think? You're really into this stuff. Well, it's not so much that I'm into it. It's just I want to know. I don't have an answer on this. It sounds awful. Is what it sounds like. It sounds awful, but it also sounds like it's possibly necessary at the same time. Now, is the treatment? That's totally different. Now we're talking two different things. How you're treated inside, if you're being tortured or punished, oh, dude, I wouldn't care. I mean, I'd care more if you're a kid, but kid or adult, that should not be happening.
Yeah.
If you're containing somebody because they are violent or they've done something and you need to house them, that's one thing. But to torture?
Yeah. To me, it's just what really stands out the most is for this to be clearly painting the picture that Israel, the Jewish community there, that is the only military prison in the world designed for children. That's the biggest thing. Why them?
Why? Yeah.
Why do they have to have the only children intended military prison in the world? That is just because of the conflict? Well, there's conflicts all over the world.
I'm sure Netanyahu would tell you that. I'm sure he would tell you because of what the Palestinians are doing to his country. They're so evil, they're so vile, I mean, listen to him talk. I'm sure that's what he's going to say.
Yeah, and to your point, I've heard claims from both sides, and they're both atrocities. They're both, what they're doing to each other on both sides is wrong by all counts, and it really should stop. That would be, I think, what most people would say is, could you guys have peace? That would be what everybody would prefer. But regardless or not, regardless of the conflict, regardless of what anybody thinks about the conflict, surely whenever it comes to kids, there should be enough decency and diplomacy to agree. Children should be primary in our decision making as far as what we're going to do in these conflicts, how we're going to handle the kids. And I get it. They're training kids. There's groups of extremists training kids from a young age to bear arms, to be ready to run in and shoot up their enemies and blow themselves up. All kinds of evil things that are being trained and impressed onto kids from a young age. But whenever you see something like this, if you've ever been into a juvenile institution in our country, which I have, trying to go in and minister to the kids there, you can't help but look at this and something just speak to your soul and just make you feel like, man, how can somebody be a light in a place like this? Because you talk about the institutions here in our country, and they can be some dark places. They can be some places that'd be hard for a lot of kids to find hope without somebody actually going in from the outside in and bringing hope to these kids. Whenever you look at a place like this, I don't even, number one, even know if it would even be possible. I don't know if Israel would ever even let anybody inside of there to actually minister to these kids or to try to help the situation. But regardless, you can't help but feel like, man, that is the place out of every other place where kids need somebody to be a light into their life, to give them hope, to let them know that there's something worth living for. If you can't feel that kind of conviction whenever you read about something like this, if you can't feel that calling out to you like something, surely there's something that can be done to help these kids and not just let these kids continue to suffer whenever they've already suffered so much. They've been stripped from their families from a young age. They've been groomed into violence. How can we help them? How can we get them on the right path?
Yeah.
That's immediately what I think. This is heavy for me because I immediately think, how can these kids be helped? Not tortured, not abused, not just beaten up and questioned and interrogated, but how can these kids be helped? They are still kids after all, and they're impressionable. And just as much as the enemy, which we know who the real enemy is just as much as the enemy has tried to get his hands on these kids that are in an institution like this and send them down a path of destruction, they're still pliable, they're still shapeable and impressionable enough at that age to be able to have somebody come into their life and affect positive change and influence and get them on the right track. I am truly convinced of that. I know that most kids are not beyond being able to be helped if it's the right person with the right conviction and is able to meet those kids with the love that they need.
Well, everything you just said, I would echo. I mean, your sentiment, your heartfelt message is an extension of mine. I'm so with you on that. I just have a heart for kids anyway, and maybe it's because of my past, or maybe it's because of what I did in law enforcement. You know who'd be great? Just impromptu. We should just have Honest Kerry Lewis. He was an SRO here in Castle Rock for most of his career. I don't know. I mean, so my kids, elementary, middle, high school, Kerry pretty much knew them all the way through. Called me when they graduated. I mean, he watched the progression, the growth. And this guy has impacted, there's no doubt in my mind, hundreds, if not more, maybe thousands of lives, as just being just a great human being, solidified in his faith and his stance, but also a wonderful cop, and just the balance of, here's what you can get into if you don't pay attention to this and that and the other. And he's got a heart for kids too. I think it'd be great to have him on something, because I think you get off a real perspective of, because I've never asked him, like, what do you think your percentage is of kids that potentially you might have helped or saved versus the ones that slip through the cracks, because you can only do so much as one person. But Kerry would have an interesting perspective, because he would have multiple schools that he would have been an SRO for that would all have principals and assistant principals and teachers. And how much are they impacting on the negative side? And they're not all bad. I'm not saying the whole school system is corrupt. That would be a stretch. But we certainly have seen what's happened here in Colorado with the attack on kids within the school systems. And you got a guy like Kerry Lewis out here who's not only enforcing law on the streets, but he's trying to get kids to walk the right path and show the ramifications therein. So I just think it would be a really interesting perspective on a local front to see what he thinks.
I agree. Kerry's a great guy. I know Kerry as well.
Do you think you did anything?
He used to teach his boys here at the gym, and he's a very good human. I would echo that. It would be worth getting someone like him on for sure.
It would just be an interesting perspective from that.
Yeah, how to affect positive change in kids' lives. I love it. I mean, that's super important, and that's a big part of what we're all about here. Obviously, the Rock Jiu-Jitsu team. That's what we want to do, is make sure that we're a place where kids can come and be able to look up to the right people, be able to come to a place that's pointing them in the right direction, encouraging them, motivating them to challenge themselves, to push hard and work hard. And, I think the jiu-jitsu in itself does a good job of that, because life's hard. Jiu-jitsu's hard, but You don't just quit. You don't just give up because it's hard. You lean into it, work hard, and you improve. You get better. As hard as it is, you do it anyways. And I think that jiu-jitsu in itself is a superpower. It's an incredible tool to use for development in kids and adults. But regardless, this just really speaks to me. This just calls to me, I would say. This kind of a situation where there's kids that are obviously suffering, no doubt suffering on both sides of this. They're suffering. And it's a pain. It's a pain to think about that. It's a pain to think about how many kids are being failed by systems that are just putting kids through the same cycle of abuse after abuse after abuse.
You know, one thing I think you could add to this. So if I go from a law enforcement perspective here, we have jails, we house people. We even have like the Foot Center up here in Arapahoe County where the kids go into. It's usually like if you've committed felonies or really bad things. But it's a housing facility, and there's mental health services and things that are in there. But when I look at it from a law enforcement perspective, guys that are doing real time, hardened criminals that are doing real time, there's probably a little bit of animus between, let's say, the guards and the prisoners. I think that would be fair to say. But the difference here would be is there's a loyal hatred for country, which is very different to me because in jail, you have American citizens with American guards. Yeah, you did the crime, you're doing the time, and yeah, you might have a little bit of rub, if you will, with authority. But that's authority. This is hatred. And so the difference here to me is if you're on the other side of that line, that country line, you're taught from an early age both ways. This is your enemy. At all costs, this is your enemy, and you must be destroyed, and we must protect ourselves. So that just adds a different level to this. If they're housing them in there, I'm wondering if the guards and these people that have grown up knowing that's my enemy, if that's part of the treatment system that's within those walls that you may never hear about. Because there's a very big, in my opinion, there'd be a big difference between local here, even serious supermaxes. I would have to believe there's still humanity and humaneness that's going on that may not be happening there simply because of upbringing.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a real hatred piece to that. I like that you bring that up because I think that makes this all the more of conversation worthy because how much these two groups of people hate each other.
It's like Russia and Ukraine right now.
For one of them to be imprisoning the other, obviously it's going to be met with torture, abuse, all kinds of things that are just going to continue the cycle of kids going down the wrong road.
Right.
Kids being taken advantage of, kids being abused. I hate that. I hate to see it, hate to hear it, hate to hear that it's confirmed. And I hate to hear that for whatever reason, Israel thought that they were the ones who needed to be the only military prison for children in the world. That in itself is a tragedy. But, I mean, this is some high-level conversation. And there's so many people talking about this right now. So many people talking about Palestinians versus Jews. There's so many people talking about the conflicts in Iran, the ties that could be behind the scenes and all of this. There's so many people talking about this at pretty high levels. I won't even sit here and pretend that I am able to speak to a lot of this with a high level of comprehension and understanding. What I do know is that this war and this loss of life, no matter what, it's a tragedy. And I wish that it could stop. I especially wish that it could get to the point where kids are protected more so than they are right now from all these conflicts around the world. It just makes you sick to think about the stories that have been told over the past couple of years as a result of some of these conflicts. Not just kids, babies that have been subject to the brutality that is in war, the reality in war. It's sick. And the conflicts, man, I just hope that somehow, some way, they can be brought to a halt, but I don't know that they will. I mean, the truth is the world right now is fighting very physically. A lot of emotions, a lot of anger, a lot of hatred, a lot of bitterness, a lot of greed. There's a lot of underlying motivations, but we all have an enemy in common. And I think that's what the world refuses to wake up to. We all have an enemy in common. And their only real answer to any of this stuff is to understand that, and then to understand that that is what unites us. But what unites us more than that is that we all have the same solution to all this.
Yeah, people aren't going to see it, Justin. They're just not. Or Jared, sorry. I'm thinking of
79 episodes in, man. You think
dude,
you know my name?
You think I know your name? He's been in my heart since yesterday. It was just heavy. Yeah, Jared, there's Iran is an issue right now. Ukraine, Russia is an issue. Israel, Palestine is an issue. America is an issue. We're just not at blowing up war level in America, but we're from social justice heroes in the street right now. We're at war, and we are going downhill quick in this country, and we're divided on almost any topic that you can pick. So, it kind of feels like everywhere you look, it's bad. Unless you're like, I don't know, Sweden or one of those places that just gets involved in nothing. Maybe Holland. They have a tulip festival going on right now and everybody's happy. I don't know, dude. It's just like you turn on the news and it's everywhere. And you said it, there's a greater enemy in all this. But I think in every one of the things I just mentioned, the enemy feels like it's what's opposite of you. It's not what's truly the enemy. It's what you're looking at. And when you're looking across the Gaza Strip, that's your enemy. When you're looking across the Hormuz Straits, there's your enemy. When you're looking across, fill in the blank. Across the political aisle in America, there's your enemy. Literally. There's your enemy. And that's how we're treating it. I went to 5 assemblies Saturday. 5. From Weld County to El Paso County and everything in between. Vitriol is the word I would use to describe it. Vitriol. And how people view other people politically. Both ways.
Yeah.
And it literally broke my heart Saturday to watch it.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. I went to one. But you want to know how long I stayed?
About 8 minutes.
I dropped off coffee.
Well, that was nice.
Douglas County.
So about 8 minutes.
Dropped off coffee, donated coffee, and I was out. I couldn't be out of there fast enough. I don't want to be around there.
I wanted to be in because I wanted to hear it. I wanted to see it. I always felt it. I always thought it was going on, but I really, really wanted to see it. And I did.
Listen, good people that I support, good people that I'm friends with, but the politics I don't think I'll ever be friends with. The political system, the cogs that are at play, all the nastiness that comes with it, I can't stand it, nor can I stomach it. I do not like it at all.
I wasn't talking about candidates. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about sitting back. There was a guy that was standing next to me. Somebody was up on stage speaking, somebody running for some office. I don't know, it was up in Weld County. And they said something about conservative Christian values. And the guy standing next to me, who was there as a, I believe, conservative, based on his attire, and he said, oh yeah, there is nothing like the hatred of Christian love.
Yeah, that's a pretty common line from a lot of the people in this world right now, unfortunately.
And I went, what? And then I just listened for the rest of the day. And I got to tell you, he wasn't far off. It was hard to hear. It was hard to watch.
That's the unfortunate truth, is that there's a lot of people claiming faith, but they're spewing out hate. They're not spewing out love. They're tearing others down to build themselves up. There's a lot of people in that category. But there's also a lot of people that are carrying their faith well. And I think that we need to be careful not to lump everybody into the same category. A couple minutes ago when we were talking about the education system, you took a clarifying moment to say not everybody in the education system is a part of the problem. Not everybody's failing. There's good teachers out there. There's good principals out there. Yeah. There's some that are just...
there's some that are absolute rock stars.
Yeah.
Absolute rock stars.
But then there are some that are looking to do nothing but encourage and motivate and contribute to the problem of kids growing up confused, identityless, and eventually leading to the point of mutilating themselves. There's a lot of people that are in the education system that are corrupt, that are morally corrupt, that have really bad moral incentives. If you want to go find kids that want to prey on people that want to prey on kids, the place you probably want to start first are places where they're able to be involved with kids. That's the truth. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
You got to go. That's where you would find people who want to prey on kids. That's the unfortunate truth. But I'm saying this to say this and balance this out, because not everybody in education is bad. There's a lot of people that actually really love kids, have a passion, have a calling to help kids, to educate kids, to mentor kids and put kids on the right path. Thank God for those people. But the reason that I'm bringing that up is because we have to make sure that we're being careful in clarifying, even for believers. There's people out there that I think are doing a really good job of actually showing the love of Christ, of actually showing what it's like to stand on love that we hear about, that we know about, that we're called to follow after in the Bible. I mean, that is what is called out in the New Testament church as being the most important, single most important identifying trait of the church is love. If
Love.
you have all these things, but you have not love, what's it all for?
Right.
That is what bodies of believers, that is what Christians, that is what churches are meant to be known for, is their love. Loving others more than they love themselves. Loving even their enemies. There's a lot of people that are doing a very poor job of being a good example of that, but there's also a lot of people, I believe, being a good example
Yep. I
of
agree.
what it's like to love. And so I want to make sure that we're calling out both sides to this, but at the same time, I want to make sure that there's a very real conversation here where people understand there are people that are running campaigns, not just here in Colorado, all over the country, running campaigns based on faith, based on promises that they're probably never going to keep. There's people that are in office right now that have run on campaigns that had at least somewhat of a level of faith integrated and promises integrated that have not been kept. Then that's politics. That's politics for you. That's just pulling together into one melting pot, whatever it is you think is the recipe for you to be able to win your race. And then once you get in, oh, I've made it. I can do whatever I want. And that's unfortunately the way that a lot of people in this country do things. That's the way politics work. I don't like that. I hate that. I hate that there's people that run on faith falsely, but then I love that there are people who run on faith and they continue to hold true to their convictions. I think of Eli Crane, having him on the podcast. I think of men like him doing a good job of politics doesn't matter, eternity matters. I love that. That's incredible. Praise God for that. I think of those people, but I also think of how the people who are on the right side of the equation here, like we're talking about Eli Crane a little bit. I think about the world in general, the statement that you said that this guy just made at this assembly, there's nothing more hateful than Christian love. I think that gets called out for a blanket statement for all Christians, and wrongfully so.
Absolutely.
Because think about the tolerant left and think about how many people out there are calling for love, calling for tolerance and acceptance, but whenever it really comes down to it, they don't want to include Christians in that.
Mm-hmm.
They're just talking about their ideals. They're talking about their idea of society and morality. And they want to force that onto Christians rather than letting Christians come into this equation with that love that we're talking about, where we love everybody. Acceptance or encouragement and acceptance are two different things. If you want to decide that you want to commit sin and live in sin, that's your decision. I'm still going to love you. And if I truly love you, that means that I'm going to do my best to tell you the truth. And the truth is these things lead to destruction. There's a path to life, and then there's a path to death. And if you truly love somebody, you want to lead them down the path to life, which is through good decisions. It's through living a good moral life. The lie of the enemy right now that is absolutely trying to destroy this world is that there is no line. It's all grays. There's no black and white. There's no right and wrong. That's the lie, because there is right and wrong, and we're born with that. We understand that from a young age. You understand what it's like to have that defiance or that rebellion. Your mom or your dad tells you to do one thing and you do the other, or vice versa. We understand this from childhood. It's something that we're built with, is this understanding that there is good and there is evil. And that's the battle right now that we're seeing in real time, is trying to have this degradation of morality, this demoralization in all societies, to where it's, we can do whatever we want. You can do whatever you want. Have it your way. There's no right and wrong until it comes to largely Christians. If Christians say that there is right or wrong, they're the ones who are wrong. They're outsiders. Cast them aside. That's hate. That's hate to try to tell somebody that there's right or wrong. No, that's actually love. To try to tell people there's a better way to live your life.
Yeah.
To try to tell people there's decisions you can make right now that'll make tomorrow better, that'll make eternity better. That is love at its finest, is trying to lead somebody to actual life instead of just tell people that it's okay to go ahead on your path to destruction and to death.
Yeah.
So I think that entire conversation just overall is very important. But to your point, I mean, whenever you're talking about the assemblies, I'm talking about friends and candidates. I'm talking about people that are on stage. I'm talking about people running the races. I'm also talking about people that are just Republicans or people that are independents that are showing up to these assemblies. I've got friends that are there. I think that there's good people. I think that there's not good people. But I also think that what really gives me the most fatigue about the entire thing, it is the politics. It is the he said, she said. It is the this person versus whoever's opinion is relevant in the moment or whoever has the most to be able to puff their chest about. Overall, it's just a posturing. And I think that it's this race that I don't know that there's another choice or another option for a lot of these politicians to be able to run other than to have to get into the muck and the mire of the political mold that's just been passed down for generations. I think that there's some examples of people stepping into roles that are from the outside of politics that do a good job of coming in, and people get very upset every time that it ever happens. People got upset over Reagan. People got upset over Trump. People get upset whenever there's outsiders that come into politics and they have success. But I think that the reason that they have success is because of how much people begin to get weary with politics and the political system. Sometimes I think that people just want a reset, or they want to be refreshed with something that's not overly political. And unfortunately, even whenever we've got these resets, we're hoping it's a reset. A lot of times it doesn't really do anything. There isn't an actual reset. It's just the same thing. It just happens to be somebody who wasn't a political insider, who now is a political insider that we've elected, and they're just failing to keep all their promises just like everybody else would have. Yeah. So that's where I think we are largely in this country and in this state right now with all these assemblies going on. I mean, we have episode after episode, we've had different candidates on, different political figures on the podcast. The conversations have been good. They've been substantive, but I'd be lying if I said that some of the episodes where we really talk about politics all the time, they have definitely had a way of kind of just getting me a little tired of it, you know? No doubt about it. They've got me a little tired of it. I'm just wanting to, at the end of every episode, at the end of every day, your and I motivation behind this podcast remains the same. I want to focus on pointing people toward life. I want people to live better lives. I want people to be prepared. I want people to understand that we have a life worth living in this life, but we also have a life that's going to be eternal after this one. Yeah. And it's worth considering. It's worth thinking about. And it's worth preparing for. Because as much as we talk about preparation on the mat, we talk about being prepared for whatever threats may come our way in this life. That's all well and good. I'm a proponent for that. I believe we should be prepared. But how much more important is it for us to understand that there's real preparation that needs to be made in this lifetime for the next lifetime?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Amen. I'll do a point of clarification, but I know what I saw, I know what I heard, I know what I watched. Your point is valid. Look, there were a lot of great people, and I'm not saying this because I put out a comment of there's no hate like Christian love, and I saw it and it was vitriol, and now I want to walk it back. I'm not going to walk it back. I'll double down on it. I saw some of the angriest people I've ever seen in my life Saturday. I also watched Priscilla Teigen, Tig Teigen's wife, 13 Hours Benghazi. He's running for mayor of Colorado Springs. She's running for House District, I believe it's 15. She walked up, first thing she said is, I'm here. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I intend on running one term and one term only. I intend on going in and cracking heads, and we're going to get this ship righted. We're going to stand in the face of evil. But this is all about the greater good of protecting kids, serving God, reuniting our community. It's not left versus right. It's good versus bad. Thank you. My name is Priscilla Teigen. And she walked off the stage. And I went, I wish everybody was like that. I also watched other people walk up and immediately point a finger at somebody and say, he's the problem and here's what he's doing. But the finger they were pointing was true. They were correct. They were absolutely right. And here's what the problem is. And you got to do that. At some point, you've got to step into and say, here's the facts, and we're going to fact check it. And the only way to talk about that, I believe, is to call it out. Now, there's a way to call it out. You can call it out with animus and vitriol, or you can call it out with facts and humility. I prefer the latter of the two, but I understand how, way back, almost, I don't know how long it's been now, 16 years ago, when I was going to run for office here. I had a lady who was in office just lying through her teeth on everything, and everybody knew it. And all I did was fact check and put it out there in the first debate, and the race was over. She literally stepped out. So I do think you have to call out the truth, but at the end of the day, I hate politics too. I want you to know that. I didn't go because I love politics. I went because I said, I want to see it's been a long time since I've stepped into it, and because of what we've done on the podcast and bringing candidates on, I wanted to go listen to them. I wanted it is so the whole. Here's me. We've said over and over and over, policy's fine, but anybody can write policy. We wanted to know the candidate, so every candidate we've brought on, we've essentially done the exact same thing with, right? Well, their policy is going to be an extension of them, in my opinion. That's what I wanted to go see. So I went and listened to a handful of the people that we've had on this podcast stand up there. And exactly what they said on the podcast is exactly what they said on the stage. That meant something to me. That meant that they stood on integrity when they sat down in that chair and said, here's what I'm going to do. And they stood up on that stage and they said, that's what I'm going to do. They didn't change anything. And it wasn't a stump speech. It was, here's my conviction and why I'm here. Here's who I am as a human being. That mattered to me. But there were others that were behind the scenes that were poking the bear. And that's what I'm talking about. The delegates, some of them were amazing and some of them were like just angry at each other. And you go, it's no wonder we can't get anywhere. And, to your point, there's the good book. But at the end of the day, the people, it's human nature, Jared.
Do you know why the delegates are so angry and hateful toward each other? Do you know, in my opinion, at least, why you're seeing it in real time where it's like there's this war within our own party?
There is.
Well, it's from the top down. You have to understand this. At some point, the people who are running for offices have to take responsibility for the culture and the tone that they are setting in their race.
Yep.
And there is so much hate from the top down. The delegates don't have a choice but to feel like they're in an actual war because of what's being said from the top down. Those delegates are representing, they're representing different candidates. They're going to feel like they're in all-out war because of how much those candidates have gone after each other. I mean, here's the thing. This past week, my wife and I, we talked about it on the last episode. Our business has been under attack, under fire, okay? And we were not only subject to attacks from people on the left side of the aisle, we were subject to attacks from people within our own party, okay? And I can pull this up, and I will pull this up. I have no reason not to. I'm honestly very frustrated about it. But regardless or not, I think that this needs to be called out. People are at odds with each other everywhere that you look. People cannot get along with each other. People don't agree on things, but to the point where it's not just we're able to have a peaceable disagreement. No, it has to be, if you're against me, we're not friends. Delete you from my friends list on Facebook, block you, whatever it is. That's how petty and that's how stupid a lot of these politics are right now. Is there's people that literally believe that that is what this kind of a race is calling for. And they're not talking about Republican versus Democrat. You're talking about Republican versus Republican. That's where we are right now in this race in Colorado, is people that literally are so opposed to other candidates to the point where they feel like they are having to go on a mission to discredit certain candidates, to build other candidates up. That is where we're at right now. And it's disheartening to see. So I'll pull it up.
Pull yours up. I want to see what it is. While you're doing that, I will say this. It ticks me off. It disturbs me. And what really bothers me at a very deep level is we're not willing to get together to sit down and speak about our differences. We're not willing to get together and talk. And I think that solves so very, very much. I really, really do. And I'll tell you, after you do your thing here, I'll tell you about my experience Saturday.
Okay. Here, I have it pulled up. Okay. So there's this page. There's this page on Facebook. It's called The Truth About Victor Marks. They have like 600, maybe 700 followers. They're posting like a couple different things every single day, just attacking Victor Marks, going after Victor Marks. Here's the thing. I'm giving context on this page because I want people to understand who you're dealing with whenever you're talking about something like this. It's one thing to have an opinion on a candidate and go after a candidate, whether you have proof or not, okay? Because I've seen a lot of these things. I've heard a lot of people. We've had a lot of candidates on that have talked about, okay, Victor needs to bring his receipts if he's saved 45,000 people. Well, apparently after he got off the podcast with Big Timber Lodge, there's some kind of report that he changed it from saved to served. or something like that. 45,000 people, to clarify it. And we've talked about that on the podcast several times. That is it possible with a ministry and a following as big as Victor has for him to have that kind of effective reach? I think that he's probably reached more people than 45,000 people. Served personally, I don't know what kind of calculation they're tallying up for that number, but that seems to be a big point of contention for a lot of people. But pages like this are just going after them. I've been able to get a little bit of insight behind this page and who's behind this page because of different candidates and different people that have our back, that know what we're about, that have reached out to us about this page and about this post and have told us this is really nothing more than a fan page for one or two of the other candidates that are out there.
Okay.
And there's two individuals behind this page, but they decided, I didn't get a single contact. Nobody contacted me. My wife, the business is nothing. They posted this very maliciously on this page because our coffee shop was under attack from the left, from the woke left. And the person who was attacking our business in his video, he says, I am a progressive woke liberal on his video.
Sure.
I found out that this coffee shop is Christian and this coffee shop supports Christian nationalism. That's his claims in this video. And he says, so I'm not supporting this coffee shop anymore. We started getting threatening messages, emails. We literally had an email. We didn't even know anything about this until Monday, I believe, is when my wife got an email from somebody basically saying, I hope you guys burn in hell. Hope your business is burned down. There was comments, and I'm going to show you the comments on this. But we didn't even understand until that email, because that email said, you're going viral online, by the way. So just so you know, this is only the beginning. We're taking you down. Something like that. 1-star reviews coming in, all kinds of hate spewing. And we didn't even know until we saw that email. Then I started to look it up. I found the video. Oh, okay, this is what's going on. There's this video that's getting some attention online. And that's where all of this attack is coming from. That's where the comments and the 1-star reviews are coming. That's what's happening. So we had made some posts, and there were some other candidates and some people that are our friends who made some posts just saying, hey, just so you guys know, this coffee shop's under attack. If you guys could come and support them, that'd be awesome. Leave them a review. If you've been there, obviously we're only looking for legitimate reviews. If you've been there and you've enjoyed it, now would be a great time to leave a review explaining your experience. So this page, for whatever reason, somehow, some way, I'm assuming it was one of the candidates. In fact, I know it was somebody because somebody messaged me about it and said that they began to get threats about this post from this page. This page posts, rightfully so. Listen to this. Rightfully so. Oodalali Coffee in Castle Rock is being targeted by liberals across social media and Google reviews. Some people are painting this out to be conservative versus liberal, and it isn't. Be honest. This place is targeted because they are propping up a bad man. Oodalali supports Victor Marx and held a petition drive for him this week. This coffee shop is complicit in human trafficking and child abuse.
What?
That last statement right there makes me want to literally liquidate all of my assets and go after the people who run this page for defamation.
Sure.
This coffee shop is complicit in human trafficking and
Do you know
abuse.
who the guy is or gal?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. I know who the gals are.
The gals. Okay.
Yes. That right there makes me sick.
Yeah. Should.
Makes me sick. So I was told about this post. Thankfully, we've got a lot of people that support us, a lot of people who know what we're about. The video that was posted by this liberal person was the video. They were using it as clickbait. We talked about it, I think, the last episode of the episode before. Victor Marx in the coffee shop. We're serving him his coffee. And whenever Sarah calls his name, she says, Victor Marx 2026, hands him his coffee. We've had Victor on the show. We've had Victor on JWI doing the disarm. We've had Victor out to do quite a couple things. We've also had other candidates. We've also had conversations with people that are against Victor Marx. We've had, I think we've done a good job of handling our approach as a podcast to the entire race, pretty diplomatic. I think that we have given everybody an opportunity to share their opinions, to voice their concerns. But at the end of the day, we've had a platform that we've invited people on to share what they're about, more so than to just try to bash other people.
That's right.
To share what they're about, and then, of course, us share what we're about, which is always just pointing people to Jesus. But whenever this gets posted, and this is supposedly supposed to be people who are proponents for, this is a fan page for candidates that are running primarily on faith. And they post something like this. And our coffee shop for years has been a staple in our community to just point people to Jesus, to point people to eternity, to point people to salvation. And this page that's supposed to be on our side of the aisle, we're supposed to be on the same team, post something like this. And it just makes your skin crawl. For me, this is disgusting. This is politics to me. This is what politics is. This is attacking, and this is belittling, and this is defaming people just because they are giving a platform for somebody you don't agree with. And then here's my comment right here. We'll scroll down and we'll continue with it. A post like this shows how little research you've actually done. This is my comment commenting back to this. I think that it messed up because I just got a phone call. We've hosted numerous guests at our coffee shop and on our podcast. People like Jason Mikesell, Joe Altman, Scott Bottoms, Barbara Kirkmeyer, Victor Marks, and many others. We've also hosted a wide range of conservative political candidates. This is because this page said this is not a conversation about, this is not an attack on conservative values. Yeah, right. Was it an attack on conservative values whenever we had the same thing happen when we hosted the Charlie Kirk Memorial here, and whenever we voiced our support for Charlie Kirk and how distraught we were over his murder, and we still got this exact same response with people on the left? Was it a conservative topic then? Was it conservative values that were under attack then? Because it's not just then, it's on an everyday basis that my wife and I and our businesses face attacks because of our moral stance,
right?
Because of our stance on Christianity. So we've hosted, and this is my response, continuing, a range of conservative political candidates. And at the end of every conversation, we point people to the real source of hope for change. Not a political party, not a movement, but Jesus Christ. That's who we point people to. You're free to disagree with us, but spreading false claims is an entirely different matter. The accusation of us being complicit in human trafficking and abuse is disgusting and crosses a line. Statements that are defamatory, and we take them seriously. We'll continue serving our community, standing firm in our faith, and trusting God with the rest. God, please help us to unite in a time when it's needed more than ever. That's my comment. That's my reply to this. And I didn't even care. I was going to leave it at that. And then they replied, well, the other candidates aren't trafficking and beating kids, but thank you for your comments. And you can see, I mean, I believe my comment literally had more likes than even their original post and anything here. People know us in the community, and people came to bat for us. So I'm thankful for that. So several different comments. Look, you see that right there? You see that comment right there, second down?
Burn it down.
Burn it down.
Yeah.
Burn it down. That's a literal call for violence to burn down the coffee shop on what's supposed to be a conservative page that's supporting a candidate that's supposed to be Christian.
Yeah, it's a keyboard warrior.
Regardless,
but it's
all these people,
awful.
all this hate. This is what, whenever we're talking about that comment from that person at the assembly, there's nothing more hateful than Christian love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the definition of that. What have my wife and I done? What has our businesses done that has highlighted anything negative, that has spread any hate? We serve people from the LGBTQ community on a regular basis. We love everybody. People who come into our doors, if they're not coming in with bad intentions and trying to push their agendas on us, they're going to be met with love. They're going to be served. They're going to be served with some of the best coffee that this state, that this country has to offer. We love. That's our mission, is to love people the way that Jesus has called us to love people. This is not it. That is not the love that Jesus has called us to love people with. That right there is hate. That is the definition of it. They hate Victor Marks so much to the point where they're willing to throw a business under the bus and hate the business right along with them. That is extremism. That is radicalism. That right there is what politics leads to and what I cannot stand. I happened to see on somebody else's post that it looked like that it could be, and I didn't know. I didn't make any conclusions. I didn't jump to any conclusions. I'm not a radical individual. So somebody posted and said that this page was run by somebody's campaign manager. So I reached out to that person and I asked. I didn't say, hey, is this, all I did say is, hey, somebody said this. Is this true? I want to know. Sent the video of this, and they said themselves, they said, I'm disgusted reading through this. And within a couple minutes, somehow, some way, stream was pulled. It was removed. But regardless or not.
So this is not up anymore?
No, it's not. It's not up. And I'm really, really glad that I took the time to screen record this before it was removed.
Yeah.
Because to me, this is disgusting. To me, this shows a page like this really has not a single leg to stand on.
Right.
This is a discreditable page. This is a hateful page. This page right here is run on nothing besides hate and radicalism. Because for them to lump a business in without going through and seeing how much good we've done, not seeing how long we've been in business, not seeing what we're about, not taking a moment to go to the podcast and realize that we have been diplomatic, we're supporting good, healthy conversations, but then to just be extreme enough to just write a hate piece to where you're saying that the coffee shop is complicit with human trafficking and sexual abuse. That's disgusting.
I mean, we'll chat off air, but I've already got 3 names of people. I say go after them. I say go after them.
I carry a gun 'cause this world's gone cold. A knife for the path when the stories unfold. But the one that leads me come fire or trial is the word in my hand with a leather-bound smile. It's the life that I live, not just something I say. That's a daily carry.